Hi, I'm Brianna, and this is my IR project. I read the book Slaughterhouse-Five, written by Kurt Vonnegut, that consisted of 275 pages. Slaughterhouse-Five features Billy, the main character, as a current figure in World War I. He is found by the Germans on their way to Germany, and he is forced to march with them as one of their prisoners. During the march, he meets one of his friends, Weary. Billy is also a part of an alternate universe where he experiences during the war. He does not know why he is a part of this alternate universe, but he just goes along with it. He is then taken to Dresden with the Germans, and Dresden is later bombed, and Billy, luckily, does not die. My first quote from the beginning of the book is, "Their assignment was to guard 100 American prisoners of war who would work as contract labor," page 190. The diction involved in this quote puts emphasis on the American prisoners that had to provide labor for Germans. This quote shows a very simple diction, but it does have a depth meaning considering that it happened in World War I. The syntax terms involved were a loose sentence coordination and a tone of anger portrayed by Billy because it was not his choice to become a prisoner. The middle quote I had was, "He had never had an old gang, old sweethearts and pals, but he missed one anyway, as the courtlet made slow, agonized experiments with chords. Chords intentionally sour, sour still, unbearably sour, and then a chord that was suffocatingly sweet, and then some sour ones again." Page 220. This middle quote uses diction a lot with commas to create different ideas within the scene. This quote shows also a very simple diction, but does use a lot of commas to create different ideas within one sentence. Syntax used is repetition, an interrupted sentence, and a tone of confusement. The final quote I had was, "They were noticing what the Americans had not noticed, that the horses' mouths were bleeding, gashed by the bits, that the horses' hooves were broken, so that every step meant agony, that the horses were insane with thirst." Page 251. The diction involved in this were mouths were bleeding, so that every step meant agony. They phrased it like this to prove the pain being endured by the horses. They wanted to make the readers feel what the horses were feeling. The syntax used is a climatic sentence and a tone of sadness. The climatic sentence because you did not know what to expect, and the tone of sadness because of the way the horses were being treated. Themes and significance that were in Slaughterhouse-Five were war causes suffering and war brings people closer together. War causes suffering is popular in this book because the people involved in this war did have a lot of suffering. Billy came across a camp full of prisoners that were in worse conditions than he was. They were starving, they had no shelter, none whatsoever, and he felt very bad for them. He felt their suffering also. He was also suffering because he had to endure conditions that he didn't like. For example, along the march to Germany, he had no shoes, walking in the snow in very bad conditions. For war brings people closer together. For example, when he met Weary. If he was not in World War I, he would have never met Weary and never became best friends with him. He was lucky to meet him because if he did not, his experience in the war would have been worse than it already was. And that's it.